Hey everybody, welcome to the Dice Tower Live. My name is Tom Vasel, and this is live Q&A, January 23rd, 2017. Sorry, I'm a couple minutes late. Some audio, last minute things. I was using the wrong microphone. Twice, same mistake, same weekend. Well, what do you do? If you missed Board Game Breakfast, don't watch it now, watch it later. But it just went up about an hour ago. Some delays there, and Week in Review is still processing. Should be done any minute, and you'll see that be posted probably directly after this Q&A is over. So, hey folks, thanks for watching. I guess I should go grab my phone in case there's some questions on Slack. If you want to join Slack, there is a link in the description of the video, so you can check that out. Let me pull up Slack here. In the Q&A channel is where I'll be. So let's get to Dice Tower chat, and we'll jump to the Q&A channel. Okay, so first question, I'll be taking questions from the YouTube and Q&A. Says, question, are we close enough to the goal so that you can discuss what you think the studio space might look like? I wish you had framed the 250,000 stretch goal as a studio from the beginning. Office doesn't have the same ring to it. I know the studio space was probably part of the plan from the beginning. It is. First of all, 250,000 is where I look into it. I don't know the exact cost, but the fact is, folks, I cannot get my hopes up here. I'm not going around and hunting for space until I have the money. Right now, it looks like we're not going to hit our 250,000 goal, and that is fine. You know, we have broadcast from here for several years. We can do it for another year. We'll see. Things could change here at the end. But if I was doing it, my goal was to have a 3-room area. One room was for the office where we would edit. One room is for recording studio purposes. And one room is for storage / whatever, like where we'll have games and stuff. I'm not sure exactly, but I know we need 3 rooms. Where we can get those 3 rooms, how much that would cost per month, all that stuff. Again, I made a deal with myself that I would not even look at that thing until we hit 250,000. And like I said, since it looks like we're not going to hit those at this point in time, well then we just move on. So there's lots of other things to work on, lots of other things to do. The Indiegogo at least fund it, so that's a very pleasure in of itself. So we'll go from there. All right. I've not seen a new season of Voltron, sorry. Now that Summoner Wars is complete, would you consider ranking the 16 factions based on all the cards that they have? Maybe. That's not a bad thing, although I honestly think there's 32 factions to some degree, or 40 factions maybe, because each summoner really is their own faction to some degree. They come with their own set of cards, and I really treat each summoner slightly different. So maybe ranking all the summoners together, although I would need to sit down and play some more Summoner Wars for that to happen. Have you ever been, or would you ever go to the New York or Nuremberg Toy Fair? That's like an unofficial stretch goal for the Dice Tower, where I would need to have gotten above the studio space for that to have happened. I would have already had to make plans. What country that you haven't been to would you like to visit? I'll go with Italy. I like to go to Italy. Sorry, I'm moving chat so I can see it more easily. Some questions that you might ask, I might not answer. Realize I won't answer all of them. And also some questions are frequently asked, and I've included a link to the FAQ in the description of the video. I don't know when games are coming out. And, well, I don't know. This should probably like a whole spiel I should say at the very beginning. Are you disappointed that this year's Indiegogo campaign probably won't earn as much as last year's Kickstarter? Well, it's going to be interesting. It looks like we'll get the same amount. We might get a little bit less on the Indiegogo campaign. Again, I don't know. But the Indiegogo is taking a smaller cut, so that evens out. So we can do the same stuff we did last year. The difference being from last year to this year is I did not hire my video editor until like April of last year. So there was a few months where I wasn't paying my video editor. However, I made up for that by flying Rodney Smith and Rado in to do things with, and I won't be doing that this year. So that kind of balances out. We'll have more promos left over at the end of this year. Hopefully I'll get the promos faster and out to people. I don't know. It is interesting because we have 30% increase in views from year to year. We did not see a 30% increase in the campaign. Is this because Indiegogo is not as visible as Kickstarter? Are we going to see a huge push here at the end? I don't know. These are questions that I have to ask myself, because if it makes too little, then it's my fault, right? There's no one else to blame other than Tom Vasel chose to go to Indiegogo over Kickstarter. We'll see. We'll see. Let's see. What's your most favorite memory from college? Well, that's an interesting question. There's a lot of good memories from college, right? I still remember the first time I met my wife. I remember that. I remember the first time that I knew I was in love with my wife. There's a lot of memories of college that involve me falling in love with my wife. But there are other memories too. As dumb as it sounds, I remember staying up an entire night playing Final Fantasy VII. I don't know what it was. It was just a fantastic experience. It was over the summer. There was a lot of lazy. I stayed at college over the summers and worked, and they were amazing times. I remember sitting around a table talking to all the other guys and just having a great time, talking and arguing about everything in general. Just with not a care in the world, but with all the ideas and the solutions to problems, right? I don't know. I remember organizing a giant rubber band assassin gun on campus. That was a good time. I remember organizing a giant mail chain between the guys in the girls' dorms. They would send back letters back and forth each night. And when I was a freshman, I never got any letters from the girls' dorm, which was depressing. But, I didn't know any of the girls. Once I got a few, I guess, as time went by. But when I started dating my wife, I got them every night. She would send me a letter, and I would send her some. Not nearly as many as she sent me. And a friend of mine said something to the effect of, one time he was saying, I'm going to send out resumes to date me. And I said, do it. And he chickened out. And I thought, that's such a great idea. It can't go to waste. What can we do? So with my wife's help, I wrote up about 40 letters and called myself Houdini. And I said, if you girls send me say that you're willing to do this, I will send you a list of guys' names or aliases, and if you write them, they promise to write you back. So I sent this to 40 random rooms, all right, over campus. And I still remember hearing people talk about it around me. No one knew who I was. I knew the room number, but people don't have room numbers memorized. And I got a plethora of mail the next week. It just came in bucket loads, and it was fun. And so we sent out, I went and found a whole bunch of guys who were just like me, who were awkward and whatever, and I sent out the list of names, and these guys got like 10, 15 letters. Their roommates would come in, here's one for you, 10 for you. And it worked really well. I said, hey, I'm not a dating service. I'm not trying to create relationships. I just want people to mail back and forth. And then the next year I said, let's do it again. But this year I'm not going to hit up some of the rooms. I'm going to hit up every girl's room on campus. So we did. A lot of paper. It was kind of a waste of my meager resources, but Laura and I got a kick out of it. Then the next year, I said, let's send one out to every guy's room and every girl's room. Let's get this cross-pollination thing. The people delivering the mail at that point went and complained bitterly about the massive amounts of mail they were being forced to send back and forth between the dorms, and college shut me down. But it was good while it lasted. That's a good memory. I remember playing board games out in the lobby till the wee hours. There's a lot of good memories from college. It's probably not what most of you are here to hear about. So I thought one of the reasons to make the switch to Indiegogo was the ability for people to donate using PayPal. Now I see Indiegogo is ending PayPal support. Why? Well, that's a good question. I did not know they were ending PayPal support. That's why I sent out like an urgent thing that said if you're going to use PayPal, use it now. The reasoning that Indiegogo has given me is that PayPal has not always sent the money to people when they were supposed to get it. I suspect it's because people are using personal accounts rather than business accounts, and PayPal will flag it if it goes to a personal account. You need to start a business account to get money from PayPal properly. Either way, they're going to Stripe over PayPal. It's a decision I don't agree with, but it is Indiegogo's decision. Was wondering if you would tell us what your Hearthstone account is to add as a friend. I think it's Dice Tower. Let me look here. I have these spurts with Hearthstone, right? Like I just played a whole pile of it a couple weeks ago. Then I stopped playing it. I got all those new cards, or some new cards. So where is Hearthstone on here? I don't guarantee that I'll play because I have to be online at that point in time. I want to say I'm either Tom Vasel or Dice Tower, but because Tom Vasel's very fortunate, it's one of those names that not everybody has. And Dice Tower, who else is using that? It's down in the corner, right? Yeah, I'm Dice Tower. Capital D-I-C-E, capital T-O-W-E-R. I am not online right now. But if you want to add me, you can. I don't promise anything other than I will probably lose to you in a game. I'm sorry you're not going to get the studio, but for what it's worth, your home has a charm to it. There would be no shut the door without it. Good point. Did you have a good weekend with your family? Yes. How do you balance family and work demands? I try to, like when I'm with my family, not think about work. It's hard, but I can try to do that. We did have a good time. We went to Orlando and spent a few days there, so that was a lot of fun. And now we're back. Is anyone going to review Sole Fide? Didn't Sam review that? If he didn't, he's going to. Did you ever collect Garbage Pail Kids when you were a kid? Oh, I did. Actually, my dad bought a pack of them for me because he saw the front of it. It said Atom Bomb. And he thought that was hilarious pun. So he bought them for me. I opened them up and my mom was like, "What did you buy our son?" And I got a couple more packs, but my parents were very opposed to it because they thought they were gross and disgusting, which they are. I have since bought several as an adult. I think they're funny. My kids do not have the same kind of humor towards them. All right. I could always buy a bigger house. No, that's actually not true. Houses are one of those things that as they get slightly bigger, they get exponentially more expensive. Do you know companies get artwork for games? Basically, if they don't have an artist connection, they go find one. If they do have artist connections, they tend to use the same artist over and over again. I do not know how much they pay for them. Top 5 ways to choose a starting player excluding dice roll. This sounds like a good top 10 list I can do in the future. Excluding dice roll? Dice roll is a good way to do it. My favorite way is to take a dice tower, take the bottom out, put it on the table, drop the pieces in, and whoever's piece goes farthest, they're first. Or I'll sit there and at the table, if you're playing a game with me, I'll be like, "So who's having a good day?" And someone will be like, "I will." I'm like, "You're first." Those are 2 ways. It's too soon. This is my board game breakfast segment today. Hit home. It's been 1 year since my son's heart stopped. Thank God he's okay now. I can't endure medical type games about such. Am I oversensitive if I ask someone to stop playing? I think you'd be oversensitive if you're asking someone else to stop playing because they don't know that about you. And honestly, I can't think of any games about heart attacks anyway. Now, if you're in the game, you can say, "Listen, this is the theme that I'm uncomfortable with." I mean, I would certainly, maybe you're talking about pandemic or things like that. But I don't know. These things have to be handled with sensitivity on both sides, right? I have to be sensitive to other people, how they feel about games, but I also have to realize if I'm sensitive to something, other people may not be. If you could only have one in your collection, would it be Clank or Vikings Gone Wild? That's a good question because even though they're very different games, they fit that same similarity. I like them both a lot. Right now, I think I give the edge to Clank. But, oh man, I do like Vikings Gone Wild. They're both in my collection, so there's that. What would you say it is about board gaming that makes it such an amazing and compelling hobby? Other people is what it is, and meeting other people. Any more info on the Sheriff of Nottingham review? I'm assuming you mean the Sheriff of Nottingham expansion. Well, the good news is I talked to them about that today. So I will know more exact details as time goes by, but tentatively it is coming out this summer, the expansion. Why doesn't Dice Tower include a Spanish section? There aren't really good Spanish reviewing channels. Well, that's up to the Spanish people. I don't want to add a Spanish section to the YouTube channel because it would be very confusing. You'd be downloading videos, you look at this one and be like, this one's in Spanish. Spanish should be its own separate channel. And I don't really want to have a Dice Tower Spanish channel right now because I can't listen to what's going on in Spanish. I don't know, my Spanish is not that good. So therefore, I don't think that it would, I don't know, there's just not a good meshing at that point. Are you visiting Michigan this year for any events? Maybe. Ask me that in a couple weeks. Why did Joe Stedman leave? How did Sam join the show? And where are all the classic podcasts around episode 30? They seem to end. You know what? They're just not on the air, but they will be coming back. If you notice on the board game show, on the video, we are slowly adding them. I think episode 23 is going up this week, or 24. When we get to 30, I don't actually have those old episodes from 30 to 35, but Joe has told me that he has. So Joe went to America when we lived in Korea. That's why he left. He went just went a different career path. Sam did the same thing, although he swung around and joined back up with me. So that's where that's going on. Why is suddenly everyone giving away seals of approval, seal of excellence? I would prefer it when only the three of you would give them. My apologies about that. There were discussions that the DC deck builder is just as much Steam as Legendary. I haven't played DC. Can you just explain why you disagree with those arguments? It's a really long discussion. I don't really want to get into it here. But the simple fact is that DC feels anti-thematic. You could argue that Marvel Legendary doesn't have a strong theme, but when I play the cards, I can see the characters doing things. In DC, Batman is using Superman's eye rays and then using bad guys to help him in the future. That makes no sense to me thematically. Why don't I like Five Tribes? No, I don't dislike it. I just don't love it. I think it's okay at best. Don't ask the same questions on the Slack Q&A as you are on the YouTube Q&A, or I will no longer answer questions from you. That's double dipping. Oh, you also need to number it shows after our name in Hearthstone. All right. I did not know that. This is probably, I'm going to probably regret this. Someone can type this number in the chat for those who don't hear it, I guess. The number after my name in Hearthstone is, open up Hearthstone, blah, blah, blah. 1333, 1333. Is that it? That seems low. Dice Tower number 1333. All right. All right, let's see here. Other questions here. Okay, what is the... Are you very much a fan of Splatter Spellens games? No, not really. I really hate the artwork in them, and they're just overly long for me, so I haven't played most of them. They're also very hard to get. Now, I know that Food Chain Magnate is very highly regarded, and at some point I will play that. Whether I use Kickstarter or Indiegogo next year is like 10 months decision away. Right now, we're just finishing up this year. Do you charge to do your reviews? I heard that you did. Well, someone lied to you. I have never charged to do my reviews, ever. In my opinion, the seals lose credibility when everyone starts doing them, especially since others only review several games per month. I don't know how that changes anything. If someone thinks the game is fantastic, and I think enough of that person to have them on the Dice Tower, and they give the game a good review, then it gets the Dice Tower seal of approval. It's not the Tom Vasel seal of approval, it's Dice Tower seal of approval. Do you know the turnaround time of a game going to China to be printed and then having companies being able to sell it, assuming there's no issues with shipping? I don't, and it can vary. Everything varies. There's so many variables in there. There's just none. Think you'd enjoy a zombie Euro game? No, I don't think I would enjoy that. I've seen some people working on unofficial tools to create new Mansions of Madness scenarios. Are you excited by the prospect on crowdsourced scenarios for narrative games like that? Maybe. I'm always a little hesitant on people's little campaign type things because they're usually not as well done as the ones done by the people who play tested them a lot of times, but sometimes they work. Hey, I'm starting to see quite a few reviews pop up for Ohm. Have you heard of it and any thoughts? The tile pushing is an interesting way to get actions on your turn. Haha, you don't subscribe to my channel. I posted a review of that yesterday. What made you want to start up the Dice Tower? I just want to tell other people about games. I love games. I like talking about games. I want to tell other people about games, and so I started the Dice Tower. As a religious person, does the fact that many games are atheist affect you, and or how? It doesn't affect me any more than if they weren't playing games. But I do like that gaming allows me to communicate with all sorts of different people, and once I get to know people better, have some nice dialogue with them. Does it matter if you play the Time Stories expansions in the order they are released? It doesn't matter, but I highly recommend it. If you start working on Dice Tower Studios, are you looking for finished office space or a more industrial building that you can build out your studio from scratch? Probably finished office space. I don't have any money or the ability to build a studio from scratch. Your dice keep disappearing. Is your son's dice collection growing? Possibly. Who's the most competitive between you, Z, and Tom? I think you mean Sam. Definitely Sam is the most competitive. I'm not answering that question again. I did that in the previous one. On the breakfast episode, Tom thinks, what's your experience on players refusing to play certain themes? Well, I did a different segment on that one, actually. I've had vegan friends declining to play Great Western Trail due to its cow theme. Well, it is what it is. You should never get on someone's case for not playing a game because they don't like the theme for whatever reason. Because you would hate when someone does that to you. I know sometimes like, I want to play this game so badly, but there's always going to be some game that people, and you could be like, come on, this game isn't really that bad, okay? But people are going to say that to you about the theme that you might find distasteful. A friend in our game group just bought Captain Sonar. Does it need exactly 8 players to be fun? Not exactly, but I highly recommend it. I don't know that I've ever played it without 8 people. I would play with 6 maybe. Are either you, Z, or Sam going to participate in the Tabletopia Keyflower tournament? I hate tournaments, so for me, no. Sam would not like Keyflower, and probably not Z either. You ever consider doing something like a top 50 expansions of all times or something like that? I've done my top 100 expansions of all time, although it's probably changed since I've done it, but there's still a lot of them. Is there a game that you wish you could tell your younger self to give it a second chance? No, I don't think so. I might have told myself, I mean, I could go back and be like, Tom, buy Magic the Gathering when you first heard about it. I thought Magic the Gathering sounded cool, and I was like, but I don't know about the Magic theme. Oh, Star Wars. I'll get Star Wars instead. Yeah, I want to go back and throttle myself. Is there any chance that Rado will end up back on the channel this year? It's very difficult because Rado is in Malta and I'm here. I flew him in for the last time, but that was very expensive. When you fly people in for these things, like I even, I brought in Marty Cannell for the live marathon. People like that sort of thing, but it's an expensive one-time thing. That live marathon was the most expensive gaming event I've done in a long time. There's a lot of things that go into it, and that's fine, and that's well, and that's good, but we have to be careful about how many times we do such things. Now, if I'm going to see Rado at some other event, which doesn't seem, I mean, we pretty much only see each other at Essen at this point. Is someone going to review the Orcs Must Die Unchained board game? Probably. I've taken it with me now to game meetup like 6 times in a row. It's going tomorrow night again. It will happen eventually. And just other games keep pushing their way to the front. Thundercats or He-Man live action movie? Well, wasn't there already a He-Man live action movie? I'll go with He-Man, I guess. Is a review of Millions of Dollars by Madigo coming? There is. Although I believe I just pushed that to next week because I had a different game that bumped it. It wasn't actually going to be this week, but it's going to next week. Do you have the new pitch car expansion? Yeah, I really like the new pitch car expansion a lot. It's my favorite expansion since the jump, honestly. Let's see. All right, no new questions in Slack, so let's go back here. Dr. Panic probably has heart attack stuff in it. Yeah. Name my top 5 Western films. Isn't this going on in the thread right now? I don't watch as many Westerns as other people, so I'll say like I like funny stuff more than like serious. I watch some of the serious stuff and it's like, oh, you guys are taking this too seriously. Probably my favorite Western is Tombstone. Probably. And I was really surprised by the person who started the thread off saying they liked Wyatt Earp, because the first time I saw Wyatt Earp, I almost fell asleep out of boredom. Wow, was that a boring... the movie almost felt pretentious to me. But everyone has their own opinion, but I like Tombstone much better. I like Shanghai Noon, if that's a Western movie. I enjoy stuff like that too. What's the one with Billy the Kid and all those guys? Young Guns. I like Young Guns. I like stuff like that. I mean, I like the Clint Eastwood, John Wayne style stuff. That's fine, but that stuff's usually really slow for me. I like to see like fascinating, interesting, fast action stuff. I thought the new Lone Ranger movie was kind of a fun Western movie, even though it seems like I'm one of the few people who likes that movie. Why do you do all the end of the year summaries at the end of the year rather than at the beginning of the following year? What about the Christmas releases? Because why don't I do them in February? Because I haven't had a chance to play everything yet. Well, I should do them in March. You know what? Let's just do them the following year. It's impossible to do that. So I do them at the end of the year. Sure, we don't get everything, but you know what? It is what it is. After the Tempest series not going over the best, do you think someone will try this again? That's interesting. So for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, AEG started a series of games, this was like 5 years ago now, where it's called the Tempest series, where they were going to take games and have the same characters go from game to game, and it was in the same universe and kind of created a storyline. If someone got killed in one game, maybe another. Game 2 was actually Love Letter, which was the princess, who was a character in the game, was having letters written to her. The problem with this series was, first of all, the games were all over the board. Some of the games were just flat out bad. Some of them were better than other ones, but the characters in them were not memorable. I knew there was a princess, I knew there was a queen, but no one else really resonated with me. I was like, that's Don Boyabago from game 1, and that's Huchakapakalaka. You know, I just don't remember Huchakapalakapaka, you know, from game to game. They just were kind of bland, and so the idea itself is intriguing. Because I know they were trying to bring over what they do with L5R, where they have things happen from set to set. It did not work out as well, and also the whole Renaissance theme just doesn't really appeal to people who like theme. I know it appeals to a lot of people, but I don't think that theme appealed to people. Whatever happened to that top 10 book you got for Christmas? Ready. Any chance for a review of The Colonist? There's a chance, but it's a small one. What are the chances of coming to an Australian convention? Well, I need the Australian convention to contact me. It'd be very expensive to go. What's the first convention I ever attended? Origins, for sure. Although, actually, the first conventions I ever went to was they used to have baseball card conventions in the middle of malls. I haven't seen this done in at least 15 years, I think. But when I was a kid, my dad, we would go to the mall, and in the middle of the mall where they have all the kiosks, they didn't have as many kiosks back when I was a kid. They would have all these baseball card dealers would show up, and they would be there selling baseball cards. And I collected baseball cards, but after a while I was looking for sports cards. And sometimes they would do other kinds of shows. I went to a stamp show one time, talk about pretentious. But I was a kid like, ooh, what else is there? And when I went to college, I still was like, ooh, there's a baseball card show? And at that point, I was collecting non-sport cards. So I thought, hey, I'll go see these. I went there and I saw Marvel Overpower, and I was like, oh, it's collectible and it's a game. That's what I've always wanted baseball cards to be. I always wanted to play a game with baseball cards. And so I bought some there, and then I would like, when's the next baseball card show? And I would go and oh, you're selling singles? Oh, let me see them. And then they died out a few years later. But that is a very pleasant memory for me. Remember going to those shows, looking at these guys pull out their big binders full of cards, and you went through them and looked for them, and they would sell packs of cards and grab bags of, you don't know what you're getting in this. That was a cool thing. So those would be the first conventions I went to. Do you play Cosmic Encounter with the Intimidate cards? Very rarely. When I play Cosmic Encounter, I almost only play with the base game and the rewards decks. Very few things. I had those dials now from Cosmic Eons, but even those I'm not tied to the death for. I could play without them. If they were bigger, nicer dials, yes, I'd probably use them more often. But yeah, everything else, I don't dislike most of what's in Cosmic. I just don't use it most of the time. But that rewards deck, essential. Did I really design a game on the Gulf War in my teens? Well, yeah, I wouldn't. Why would I make that story up? That'd be that's not I can't imagine what the point of it. Yes, I did. I was designing board games as a kid. My whole life, I designed board games. I thought it was fun. I thought board games at the store were more boring, and I wanted to make better ones. I made a game called, what was it called? But essentially, it was where there were 3 body parts of mummies and Frankenstein and other monsters and different people, and you mixed them together and tried to get the most points. Which, incidentally, there are several games about that today, but I was first because I was doing it in the late 80s. And I designed a game called Collapse, where you built out of popsicle sticks these buildings, and you were adding sticks and removing sticks, and you didn't want the whole thing to collapse. I built an adventure game where you went around and picked up weapons and swords and went on adventures. I designed a game where you had to go and discover the map built while you went into it. I designed a few war games. They weren't very heavy war games, but I distinctly remember the one in Iraq, where the Iraqis, there was guerrilla resistance, and there was 3 decks for biological weapons, chemical weapons, nuclear weapons. You had to get to certain points to be able to use those weapons. I was just using my information I knew from Axis and Allies and Fortress America to build these games. They weren't great games. I couldn't tell you much about them today. It's like, how old was I? Like 15 or 14, 15 for these? So we're talking 25 years ago, but yeah, it was just a hobby that I did. My mom gave me all the supplies. We didn't have a TV at our house, so I was always using my energy to do things in other ways, and that was something I did. Would you ever consider holding an event in South Korea again? Well, sure. Again, I'm interested in doing events in any countries, but the people who run the conventions have to contact me because it's really expensive to go to other countries. I just got Pyramid Arcade. Are there any games to avoid? I haven't played any yet that I dislike. You talk about Overpower sometimes. I used to play when I was younger. I would love to see a playthrough. Oh, that's interesting. I actually have Overpower stuff. That'd be a fun one for me and Sam to play live. Man, I like Overpower. It's not the greatest of games, but it's fun. If the Dice Tower crew was a faction in Realm of Bones, who would be what role? Z would be the swashbuckler. I would be the captain. Sam would be the brute. Jason would be the gunner. And Eric would be the 5th guy, whoever that would be. What happens if someone from the Dice Tower crowd gives a game a seal of excellence, another one gives the same game a seal of approval? Which one's more valid? The highest one's always the most valid. I mean, for example, if Z reviews a game and gives the Dice Tower seal of excellence, but I hate the game, we don't say, well, that's negated, Z, sorry. What the Dice Tower seal of excellence or just Dice Tower seal of approval means is someone at the Dice Tower team really liked that game. If you don't see one of those seals on the game at all, it means no one liked it. I think there might be an expansion coming for Star Wars Rebellion. Maybe. I don't know. I kind of hope not. I think the game's fine as it is. Are you going to do a video or event to make a final push for the fundraiser? I think a last call would be awesome. I don't know what you mean by that. You know, like another, like we stay up till we reach a certain amount of money? I don't know. Someone recently put forth an argument that expansions are bad because if they were necessary, they should have been included in the game. Nah, that's a nonsense argument. That makes no sense. You're saying if you design a game and then you think of some other ideas to add in that game, well then you foolishly designed a game in the first place. That's nonsense. No one designs a perfect game, and if they do design it perfectly, that's fine. But if someone makes an no. Bad argument. Is there any reason you get the smaller version of the Calyx shelves instead of a bunch of the larger 5x5 ones? Oh yeah, it's because of space, right? So I figured out that if I got the 5x5 ones, then I couldn't put I wanted to put ones on top. So if I got 5x5, I measured the room out here. So I have 3 4x4s and 3 2x4s on top of those. So that's, what is that, 12 times 6, so that's 72 squares. If I did the 5x5s, I would have 2 5x5s, which is 10 across. Right now I'm 12 across. Then on top of those 5x5s, I would have to put the single 1x4s, which doesn't match up exactly, so I'd put 2 of those on top, which would be 8. There'd be 2 empty spaces, which would drive everybody crazy. I would have 2 spaces over here, so I could put a 2x4, but that wouldn't reach up to the top of the 5, which would also drive everybody crazy. The 5x5s essentially work well if that's all I have, but I wanted to put other things around them, and this gives a more symmetrical thing. I mean, look how annoyed people get that I have my shelves slightly off-centered here. I think that helps with weight distribution, and that drives people crazy. Can you imagine if I had 5x5s and there was 2 empty spaces on the top? Yeah, it'd be problematic. That's why I didn't do it. I certainly considered all the different shelf sizes. Is Dice Tower your full-time job? Yes, it is. What do you think about board game clubs in schools? I think they're great things. Do you agree that Suburbia expansions make the game less fun? No, I think the first expansion for Suburbia is amazing. I really like it. Second one's okay. I don't like that they spread out the tiles that relate to each other. Any other game like this where you would play it more with expansions? No, I play Suburbia with its expansion, at least the first one. Have you ever played in one of those mega games like Watch the Skies? I have not played in any of those. Have you or do you plan on seeing Split, M. Night Shyamalan's new movie? It's easily in his top 3. No, I have not. I don't know. I don't know. That guy has really messed me over with a lot of his movies not being that interesting. Or they're like, look really scary, and then I find out they're not scary, but I was still scared the whole movie. I don't know if I like that. Let's see. Initial Pathfinder Adventure card game reviews from 2013 were good, including Dice Tower, but now the game does not seem that popular. Do you know the reason for this? Oh, I don't know. It was one of those games that you have to keep up with, and I don't want to keep up with that many different games, so that's one of the games that's fallen by the wayside. What is the plan to keep the Dice Tower when you retire or such? Well, that's hopefully like 25 years away. I'm 40. So 65 might be a good time to retire, maybe. By that time, I hope that other people can take over. No one's going to be like, why is that old man still in a Dice Tower? Be like, I'm leaving, young whippersnappers. And then people will be glad. They'll be like, finally, so we'll talk about something other than Cosmic Encounter. That game is 50 years old. Or 65 years old at that point. Let's see. The He-Man movie was awful. I didn't say it was great. I just said I've seen it. That's right. Skeletor and his army show up in the middle of some podunk town and take it over. Do you read the current Star Wars and Darth Vader comics? I read some of the Darth Vader ones. I haven't read most of the Star Wars ones because there's only so many comics that you can read. What do you like about Tropical Tycoon Monopoly? And is it still in your collection? It is still in my collection. I like it because there's so many good things about it. You play to points and you play with a time limit. There are random DVD events. There's just a lot of unique things. There are casinos, random things. I like that. Curious about the plans for the Dice Tower Con's library. Since the number of attendees is doubling, will the library do the same? I feel pretty confident the library will be bigger. You'll see. That was my thread about Westerns. I enjoyed the character development and characters in Wyatt Earp. Maybe, but I'll tell you what. Wyatt Earp was probably not a great person. But at least in Tombstone, it made him seem kind of cool. And Wyatt Earp, it was like, oh man, this guy, oh, he won't shut up. Oh, this guy, oh, look how he's cheating on his wife. I hate this guy so much. And Doc Holliday was just boring in Wyatt Earp compared to Tombstone. Was this the best year for game artwork? I don't know. That's hard to tell. I would not be able to know that. So it's because it's lagging. I know it's lagging for a lot of people, the video. There's not a lot I can do about that. I apologize. That is on YouTube. As far as I can tell, it looks like it's streaming okay from here. My apologies, though, for those that it's lagging for. I sold my overpowered pre-con decks to you? No, I took those apart instantly and used them. There's been a lot of streaming issues lately. I wonder what's up. You mean streaming across the board? I don't know. Streaming from the Dice Tower, we haven't had that many issues, honestly. Top 5 overpower heroes. Iceman, for sure. Who else was really good? I'm going to take out the Image nonsense because they were ridiculously overpowered. And DC was ridiculously underpowered, which is really weird. So, of the Marvel ones, definitely Iceman was really good. I really liked Human Torch. The Thing. Blah, 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 blah. Jubilee. They were good. She was good. Scarlet Witch. No, not Scarlet Witch. Black Widow. Black Widow was good too. Have you ever tried to make your own homemade kimchi? No. I think my wife did though. But I have not. It seems like there are more games that are being sold in smaller boxes with less air. Do you see this trend continuing for smaller companies? Maybe. I don't know. Can you give me your definition of a Euro game? A Euro game is a game, when I talk about them, it's usually a game in which the goal of the game is to get a certain number of points. You get those points by trading resources for other resources or by trying to accomplish goals various ways. There's no player elimination. It is simply just trying to accomplish some sort of goal, usually through methods of trading, worker placement, or other such things. That's a very loose definition that I just made up on the spot. Name 3 living celebrities you want to play a board game with. Pretty much anybody. As long as they'd be fun to play with, right? I don't know how much fun they are in real life. That's what matters to me. I don't care how their personas are on screen. Like I heard that Tom Hanks is a pretty nice guy. Maybe I'd like to play a board game with him. But I would want to play with somebody who was fun. Probably some comedians, I guess, because they would make jokes during the whole game. Why no stretch goal at 235,000? Because at that point, we're just making up stretch goals to make up stretch goals. If we get to 250,000, that's our big one. But we'll see. What is it at right now? It looks like it's at 227, according to this. 228. Huh. Well, that's cool. It's because of this live video. Probably not. All right. When it comes to Board Game Breakfast and submitted content, how do you manage people submitting segments on the same games? Does that happen? In submitting content on the for reviews, I have a big checklist and I have a big list that shows when all the different reviews are going up. If two people submit a review in the same game, I'll hold one off. They don't go up at the same time. If someone submits a review of a game that we're about to review, they get held off until our review is over with. For Board Game Breakfast, it would be a very rare thing for people to cross paths. Occasionally, I'm about to talk about something and I quick check to see if Suzanne has mentioned it, and or Chaz, because sometimes we might cross talk each other. But that hasn't happened very often. What's the last movie you saw? I was at a hotel yesterday and watched part of Transformers and realized that that movie, I just don't like it as much. Wow. The Transformers part is interesting, and every time they get to, there's so much cringy humor parts in that movie I just did not like on second viewing. The last new movie I saw, probably in the theaters, I saw Sing. Oh, Rogue One I probably saw after Sing. Are there any older top 10 lists you're thinking of redoing with Sam and Z? Maybe some popular lists that are 2 years or older. Well, probably more like 4 years or older. I'm not going to be remaking lists every 2 years because we would never do any new lists. I would just go back 2 years and do the exact list. Also, a lot of our lists aren't going to change very much. So I'm always trying to think of new ones. You'll see us redo some of these older ones. We've redone 2. We've done the top 10 essential games all gamers need, and we've done top 10 cooperative games. Well, we also did top 10 games of 2016 twice, but hey, who's counting? Hey Tom, can you give us more info about the Dice Tower headquarters? What's that all about? Well, if it had happened, it would be Dice Tower Studios. A studio for us, like a place that's not in my house. The house is great, but a place where we could go and do things on the side. It's not looking likely at this point. Again, $250,000 was kind of the initial starting phase. It might have needed more than that. You'll notice I put in like 270 is definitely happening, but like I said, it may not happen this year, so I'm not going to worry too much about it at this point. Who would I hire to direct Starbucks the musical? I don't know if you mean Starbucks from Battlestar Galactica or Starbucks the extremely overpriced coffee place. Do you still play the Hawking card games? A little bit. I have it actually still in my collection, but it will get replaced by the Dice Tower Essentials game, actually. Have you and Melody had a chance to replay Feast for Odin? Well, we're planning to play Feast for Odin live for you guys. Why is it so hard to get great children's games to American publishers? I'll tell you why, because American publishers won't publish them, because American parents don't care. American parents will buy any trash you put in the store. That boggles my mind. You want to make sure your kids eat healthy. You want to make sure your kids are watching good stuff. Well, that's not a good analogy, because there's that. But like, I must make my kids eat healthy. Yeah, make your kids play good board games too. Is there a possibility to get a single promo from Indiegogo campaign? No. Think of it this way, okay? When it comes to the promos, we only get a certain amount of each promo. And so we have 1,000 of some promos, we have 2,000 of others, etc. So we put all those promos in packs. You order pack A and B. We go pack A, pack B, boom. If we allowed you to get single promos, you'd be like, I want one of those, one of those, one of those, one of those. I'd be like, okay. That's 1 out of 5,000. And it wouldn't even be that fast. There'd be cards all over the place. It would be a logistical nightmare. We cannot do it. It would just be really bad. Have you ever tried to duplicate a sauce or dish that you like, that you buy at the store or eat at a restaurant? No, I don't think so. I've thought about it, but I like making my own stuff. Are you guys affected by the storms down there? It was raining like crazy in New York and like 50 miles an hour wind. I thought that's why Board Game Breakfast was late. No, Board Game Breakfast was late because I was planning to record while we were in Orlando, and I forgot a couple key pieces of equipment, so could not record there. But it was probably just as well because I was going to record outside, and yes, the wind was just wow. In fact, my door is damaged on my van because of the wind, because when Laura opened the door, it just yanked it open, and we can't open it because the metal is bent there. I don't even know how to fix it. I'm not very good at that sort of nonsense. So I have to get that fixed. It takes a while for Board Game Breakfast to edit anyhow. So I recorded it as soon as we got back and edited it, and it was up. And so, again, sorry that it's late, but better late than never, right? I hate being late, though. Let's see here. I'm going to try to catch up on questions a little bit. Let's look on the Slack chat, see if there's any questions there. I tried to store my game sideways, but cringe when I heard the pieces dropping on the side of the box. I put them in bags, so who cares if they drop? Put them in bags. That's a thing. What upcoming reprint are you most excited for? I don't know. I don't really have one that I'm excited for. Oh, Pillars of the Earth. Pillars of the Earth. There you go. What would I recommend more? Cry Havoc or Blood Rage? Blood Rage. Again, if you're curious about that, you can always go look at my top 100 and see where I rank each one. Fairly new to hobby. What are the best shelving units for games? Kallax. Kallax. These are actually Expedite, but it's the same thing. Is there a game Jason has never won? Blood Rage. I don't think he's won Blood Rage, right? That seems legit. Burritos or tacos? Oh, definitely tacos. Any teasers for upcoming top 10 lists? Well, I'm telling you, the next one that's coming out this week, top 10 games that need to be dethroned. Games that are good, but there needs to be a better one that comes along, or games that I'm like, why is everyone loving this game? There's a better game needs to come along and beat the crap out of it. Have any of your videos ever been on YouTube's trending page? I doubt that. What's my favorite card for Codex? I know. Blah, 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 blah. My favorite type of cards are the ones where you pay for, and they're really great, but they don't come out for a few turns. I don't know why I like that. I like that a lot. What game do you think Sam, Z, and yourself like the most collectively? Who knows? Did you already do a live playthrough of Feast for Odin? I don't think so. We did Le Havre. And even if we did, I don't see why we could do another one. Favorite type of Tabasco sauce? The green one, the jalapeno one. Which dice tower in a fundraiser is the pink one? There's a clear one with pink slots in it. What's your favorite video on the Dice Tower channel? How to game with children. Well, I keep meaning to remake that one, and we just haven't done that yet. Pre-order First Martians from the makers. I'm surprised they've still not hit their 3,000 pre-order target considering the hype. Yeah, well, you're just underestimating how many people pre-order games. Pre-ordering is you're putting money down now for a game you'll see later, which I know is what Kickstarter is all about. But Kickstarter, pre-ordering does not have that same hype that Kickstarter does, and 3,000 is a lot of pre-orders for a game. Is there any info? Can we get any more info on the Dice Tower Cruise? Very beginning of February. Everything's already set and ready to go. We just didn't want the Dice Tower Cruise to cross hairs with the Dice Tower Fundraiser. Is there any animal or food you won't eat? Well, there's lots of foods I won't eat. Is there any animal I won't eat? Well, I'm sure there's animals I would not eat, right? Like, I would not eat scorpion. I would not eat stuff like that. But if you mean common animal, no, I would eat pretty much all the common animals. How did I get to know George Phillies? I don't know. He emailed me and asked if he could make a book out of my reviews. And I said, sure, go ahead. And he made the book and sold it. So that was that. We talked a few times through email. We might have talked through phone. Every once in a while, he'd be like, hey, I sold 20 books this year. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I don't think much about it. Any chance of more mini gaming marathons during 2017, like the one with Rahdo or Havoc and Homestead? Maybe, we'll see. Again, we are now realizing how much easier it is to do those marathons when we don't have to have wires across this room. This is a nice sized room, but it's not big enough for something like that. What we just did, the one we did, was great. And so we're a little spoiled in that regard. It's one thing to do these one-off games because we get in position, set up the wires and everything, but to do those marathons, we need to move around and everything. Well, it's 8:59, so I probably should end here. Let's look in the my top 10 lists. What do we have today? Top 10 things I crave. Well, to keep this slightly on topic, we'll do things, top 10 foods I crave. How's that? Because I could be like, attention. I crave attention or whatever. So we'll do foods I crave. All right, so foods that I crave. Well, Reese's peanut butter is definitely on there. And Cadbury cream eggs. Beef jerky, definitely. Or more specifically, those beef jerky sticks, those meat sticks. Oh, man. I was at a beef jerky store in Orlando. It was amazing. Barely got out of there alive. By alive, I mean without my credit cards being stolen by them. Nachos. I'm always craving nachos. Crackers and cheese. I love crackers and cheese. That's something I crave all the time. I always crave tacos. Kimchi. Sushi. These are things that I crave. What would be something else that I crave? Soft pretzels. I don't know what it is, but when I see a soft pretzel, I just want one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. What else we got? What's something that I'm like walking around and just craving? No. I mean, there's a lot of my favorite foods, but I don't just sit around like, oh, I got to have one of these now. That's the kind of thing we're talking about. Well, it doesn't have to be limited to food, right? So I'm going to go with sweet tea. Okay? All right, here we go. That's a good top 10. All right. Well, number 1 for me is well, let's go with number 10, okay? Let's start with number 10. 10 would be kimchi. I have to be in the mood, but when I'm in the mood, kimchi. And then sushi right after that is really when I'm like, oh, I need to have sushi. After that, we have the soft pretzels. There's just something about soft pretzels. After that, we'll have Cadbury cream eggs. I don't eat them because of the calories in them, but they're great. After that is the beef jerky sticks. I really like them. And I got some in my closet right now, and I'm rationing them out for good protein health. And I'm thinking, wow, there's like 30. I could eat 29 of them right now. Don't. Number 5. What do I got left? I guess 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm missing one. Oh, sweet tea for sure. Sweet tea is 5. Then 4 is going to be crackers and cheese. I really like crackers and cheese. And 3 would be tacos. 2 will be Reese's peanut butter cups. And number 1 is nachos. Especially the way I make nachos. Just delicious nachos. With queso or with meat or with salsa. Okay, but I'm not eating nachos right now. Alrighty, folks. Well, I appreciate everyone watching today. I appreciate the questions. I know I'd probably get them. I appreciate the people who are still backing our fundraiser and the good attitudes that everyone is having about it. I got back, and it took too long to get Board Game Breakfast ready to do a live gaming time tonight, but we will do some live gaming this week. There's a tiny chance you'll see some tomorrow. Not likely. Wednesday, guaranteed I will play some sort of game Wednesday. Thursday, I'm planning to do something Thursday, and Friday, something Friday. So hopefully 3 live games that you will see this week. But we'll have to wait and see on that. All right, well, thanks so much again for watching. Until next time, I'm Tom Vasel, and this has been the Dice Tower Live Q&A.